But then the capacity, what do I do with this? How do I learn from it? What do I and that could be a long process. I mean, that's not something that you necessarily can do in that instance.
All right.
And if you have an individual that where you can open up that dialogue, then you could reapproach. And Gottman talks about this, and it's part of one of his one of his big things in family and in couples is that it's not the fighting, it's the repair that's most important.
Yep.
And I think that requires the capacity to broaden that window to feel all sorts of stuff. There's a guy by the name of Philip Bromberg who talks about not me states, and he says that we're often, because we experience shame, not wanting to feel things or to see parts of ourselves that we actually have. So if, like for instance, the not me state that showed up with my fight with my sister, I don't want to be seen as someone who's irrational or who's mean, who is hurtful, and that generates shame like that. That's like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. But that came up there. It showed up. And so the goal is, okay, well, if I can suffer enough with this and I can own that not me state, it goes from shame to guilt. I feel bad that I did that. I feel bad that and then we move through even more emotions. You might feel the relief of accepting, well, that is part of who I am. And then you could say, well, what caused it inside me? What caused it in her? What was kind of going on? What are the contexts? What are the complexities? And there's the capacity for being able to approach yourself and, in this case, my sister, differently than it did before.
All right.
So,
Right. Well, I first of all, I appreciate you sharing about that, and I know that it probably we laugh about a lot of things around here, but that probably wasn't all that funny when you're in dealing with it. And good luck with you and your sister. You guys, I'm sure you're going to work something out.
Well, laughing about things is part of the family system. So at some point,
Yeah.
she won't laugh about it, but
No,
I will.
but there should be some good fun around somewhere. But something you said, just we've got to come back to this, and again, we've got to be brutally honest about how politics in this certain span of 10 years now that we've lived through somehow, and politics on our relationships, because the politics, not only the emotion of it, but okay, a brother and a sister as an example, and you could extrapolate that to many folks, but I don't think we've ever had this type of impact, the strength of it, which is a negative impact, I would say, that we've had to deal with. Not only, okay, we used to watch politics on the television, and then we went to the voting booth and we voted, and then we said, that guy won or this person won or whatever, and we've gone on with our lives. Now, politics is granular in our emotions and affect and cognitions and so forth. So I hope at some point we get a chance to
and maybe that's
and we're going to take sides, and we're going to kind of get at other people and point the finger, but let's try to avoid that. But we've got to talk about how to help some folks sort of lift off some of this burden that just the influence of politics at large is having on the individual out there in the family.
And maybe that's something we could talk about next time. We could sort of, because there's a sort of a continuation of the conversation we're having now, because part of, if the data would suggest that there is increased tribalism, so there's less mixing of political views.